Madam Webb, the much maligned Madam Webb, is out there. We've also been scouring the Peruvian Amazon for spiders with healing properties, and we haven't found them yet, but we're happy to tell you about this movie instead. You guys subscribe if you have not, because we're here for you guys. We're doing the February sub third tier Marvel characters. Whatever you need from us, we can do it for you. And Alonzo will describe to you Madam Webb.
So who is he?
Ezekiel Sims. He was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died.
Dakota Johnson stars as a New York City paramedic named Cassie Webb. Yes, Webb. Yes, Cassandra. It all ties in. Anyway, it's 2003, and in a flashback to 1973, 30 years earlier, we see her pregnant mom in the jungles of Peru trying to find a spider with venom that will cure all kinds of human diseases. But wouldn't you know it, her jungle guide kills her just when she finds it. But before she dies, she's taken in by Las Arañas, a secret mystical group of spider people who live in the jungles and run around the trees and dispense justice. And they can't save her life, but they can save her child, and it's Cassie. So again, jump to 30 years later in New York, and she's saving people with her buddy Adam Scott as Ben Parker. When she takes a plunge into the river, suddenly she sees things and dies for a few minutes. But after she comes back from that, she has the ability to see the immediate future. And what she sees when she's on a train one day is that the guy, who she doesn't know yet is the guy who killed her mom, is about to kill 3 teenage girls. Why? Because he has foreseen that they will one day kill him. It's all very complicated, but anyway,
it's a web, if you will.
It's a web of spider things. And so, yeah, this is Sony trying to create a live action Spider-Man adjacent franchise. They tried it with that Secret Six nonsense at the end of Amazing Spider-Man 2. They tried it with Venom, and now they're trying it with Madam Web. Will we ever see these characters again? Probably not. But if we did, I wouldn't be mad at it. And that makes Madam Web better than Venom or Amazing Spider-Man 2, if only for that.
I will not stand for this Morbius erasure.
Oh, right. Morbius. Yes. Sorry.
Right? Another failure.
I keep saying Venom when I mean Morbius. Thank you. I've completed those two in my head.
Venom is not horrible. Venom is kind of fun, and Tom Hardy goofing on himself is kind of fun.
Yeah, the second one, in fact, actually really it was so cut to the chase. It's 95 minutes long.
Yeah,
just bam, bam, do the thing. But yeah, more. Thank you, Morbius. I have a mental block about Morbius, but that's what I was thinking.
But it's Morbin time, Alonzo. It's always Morbin time. So I didn't hate this, and that has everything to do with Dakota Johnson. Just showing up and just being a smart ass and being deadpan and just giving out this vibe of not wanting any of the great power or the great responsibility. She just doesn't want to do any of it.
Yeah, a lot of these movies are well, I'm already a scientist and now I'm a superhero, or I'm already a great soldier and now I'm a superhero. This is pretty much I don't no, thank you, but nonetheless has it thrust upon her. So she is the perfect kind of conduit to take us into this story.
Right. She's look, I do not have time for this, but I'm a paramedic, and so I've got to save people's lives when they are in danger.
Exactly.
So this is kind of fun, though, here and there. So her performance is very deadpan and amusing the whole way through. There are some sequences within this, Groundhog Day, Happy Death Day, Final Destination kind of jumping forward in time thing that provides some tension. The scene on the train that is in Grand Central, which introduces us to all of these characters in the same place at the same time, is actually kind of tense because she can see what's going to happen to all of them. Can she stop it? Will they believe her? As you say, her name is Cassandra, so she's doomed to know the future and have nobody believe her. So I actually didn't hate some of that, but a lot of the dialogue is very clunky. And I feel like a lot of people were gunning for this from the get-go because the trailer is so terrible, and the trailer contains just the worst, clunkiest pieces of exposition. And there's a lot of that here, and a lot of it is just eye-rolling, but some of it's kind of funny, actually, because, again, she's annoyed with having to explain it again.
Yeah, I do think the editing does create tension between the what she foresees and then it hasn't happened yet. Can she fix it? Will she change it? And then, she has the trio of young women that she's sort of shepherding through all this. It's Sydney Sweeney, Isabela Merced, and Celeste O'Connor, and they're fun and they're actually given some notes to play that make them unique and interesting. And the movie offers these flash forwards of those characters as superheroes, but then never really tries to resolve that within this, which is great, because I think that would have been like trying to jam that many origin stories into one movie would have just been way more, than this sausage casing could take. But I think that there are people who are going to resent that because now it sort of dangles this possibility of superhero stuff with these characters, but then doesn't give you all the things. It's stuck either way, unfortunately. But yeah, is this a great movie? No. Is it a fine movie? Yeah, it's perfectly entertaining, and I was never bored. I was never angry at it.
Yeah, it moves pretty well.
Yeah, like that's my meter for this sort of thing. Like Lisa Frankenstein. I was just sort of actively like, oh my god, why is this paced so badly? Can we get on with it? And this movie, if anything, has got too much happening, but at least it's all happening at a pretty decent clip.
It is the feature filmmaking debut of longtime television director S.J. Clarkson.
Yes.
She's British and has done a lot of TV. And so...
including some of the Netflix Marvel stuff, like
Jessica Jones
and the
she
Defenders.
did.
Yeah.
Right. And it's written by a whole bunch of people, including the two guys who wrote Morbius. So I'm not sure why they want those guys to come back and write anything else, because that was not a good movie, but maybe for cohesion, as it were. We got to mention Tahar Rahim, who is like a very established actor of international cinema. He's in Jacques Audiard's A Prophet. He's in Asghar Farhadi's The Past. He's in The Mauritanian. And his character was written so flimsily and so clunkily. There's a line that like was hilarious, and I don't think they meant for it to be, where he like wakes up from a nightmare of his own murder and has to explain to the woman lying in bed next to him, "Oh, I'm going to be murdered." And it's just it's so clunky.
Yeah.
It's so clunky, and just the role is written really poorly. He's a fine actor, and this is not a good chance for him to show that.
Yeah, definitely not. Although whoever cast his hacker assistant, I'm not going to say who it is because I got a laugh at the press screening.
Yeah.
I was amused by it. That was a choice.
Yeah, and I think Carrie Bechet, who plays Dakota Johnson's mom in the movie, is pretty good casting, just as far as looking kind of similar and all that. Adam Scott is fine.
Yeah,
Mike Epps is fine.
Emma Roberts pops up.
They're all fine. Like, I don't hate this movie, and I think there's a lot of animosity toward it just because it looked terrible. It's February, but it's not as terrible as the trailers or the calendar might suggest to you.
Yes, and I think superhero fatigue is also playing into that as well, where we've had this run of like kind of, like the bloom is off the rose, I think. And so this does, have a whiff of desperation about it, of Sony like trying to squeeze something out of the Spider-Man movies that are not just Spider-Man. But of the attempts to do that so far, I'd say this is, an okay stab at it. You'll watch it on TBS with commercials one day and be like, hey, that was all right.
Yeah. The ending is really chaotic.
Yeah.
The ending is really hard to like, wait, who is where now?
It's a big pileup of things, but I think there's a lot more animosity about this movie than it necessarily deserves. I
agree with you on that. So what's your number then?
I said a 6.2.
Okay. I'll say like a 5.2. Like it's just a little bit above halfway there. So,
okay.
Madam Web is in theaters. Will you see it? Let us know.